We must make it our job to make sure this water is protected. And as Marion Rose wisely said, this certainly makes good economic sense. I want to remind you that the cost of, God forbid, of a need to filter the Kensico would be $6 to $9 billion to build it, and these are old figures of Robert Kennedy's, and it would be $500 million a year to maintain, and these are also old figures. I want to remind you that filtered water is only as good as the water flowing through it. And I also want to remind you that in Minneapolis, where their water was filtered, 400,000 people became ill, and I believe it was 100 people died from filtered water because filtered water doesn't get everything out of it. So please do pass this resolution to protect filtered water, to protect wetlands, and we are most happy to help you do this, and I thank you for this opportunity again.
The next speaker is Lionel Ruberg.
Chairman Latimer and honorable legislators, my name is Lionel Ruberg. I live in Somers. I wish to speak about the nationwide permits for the Corps of Engineers. In the years that I have lived in Westchester County, I have become increasingly aware of the rapid loss of open space and of how important the preservation of wetlands is to defending and preserving that open space. We all know that we must have development. We should also know that we do not have to have Los Angeles-style development with all of the destruction which it would bring. If the wetlands are paved over, runoff with all of its pollutants will find its way into the water supply. We will have wide-scale flooding, and the aquatic components of wildlife and all of the other wildlife that depends on those components will die. Our only defense against these calamities is the Clean Water Act, which protects wetlands. The weak link in the law has always been the nationwide permits provision, which takes away citizens' rights to defend the wetlands. I ask that you vote to approve the Board of Legislators' resolution to provide for a regional condition to require individual permits to alter or fill any wetland in the New York City watershed. This should apply to all parts of the watershed, whether filtered or unfiltered. Thank you for considering my views and for all of the good work which you do to preserve and enhance Westchester County.
The next speaker is Frank Eady.
I would like to thank you also for giving us this opportunity to speak to you this evening regarding this, what I consider a groundbreaking piece of legislation. It's not too often you get a groundbreaking legislation to not break wetland. And we do appreciate the foresight and the willingness to be innovative and straightforward about this issue, which is a tremendously critical one. Speakers before me have done a really fine job of describing the issues, how the permit system works, and the impact that your proposal, if it's adopted, will have. I want to reinforce that. By the way, my name is Frank Eady. I'm chair of the Clean Water Committee for the Sierra Club in New York State, the Atlantic chapter, and I'm here to speak for the chapter. This is an issue of great importance. As you know, it will have a big impact on the drinking water, not only of the people of New York City, but probably 80% of Westchester residents as well. It will, in the long run, probably save us all a great deal of money. I live in New York City, so I drink Croton water, so I'm tightly connected to you all up here in important ways. And it will save us a lot of money. It will also, of course, save you all and the quality of life of you and your constituents over the foreseeable future. And we believe that is an incredibly important thing for you all to do, for us to do. In case you hadn't heard, the New York City Chamber or City Council recently passed almost an identical resolution, which we thought is also a tremendously important step forward. And the city's Department of Environmental Protection, after wobbling and wavering and going all over the block, now seems to be supportive of the position that you're taking. So that all represents tremendous dynamic steps forward, and we certainly encourage and appreciate your willingness to join in the movement. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is David Ferguson.
I also want to thank you for this opportunity to lend support to this very important matter. And I want to thank in particular Michael Kaplowitz and the committee and the legislature who is really leading the way in this region and environment. And I think this is something that New York City should definitely take into account when it's forming some of its policies. I represent the HDFC Coalition, which is a coalition of tenant-sponsored limited equity co-ops throughout New York City, about 1,100 buildings. And also I represent the Chelsea Council of Block Associations, and I'm also the secretary of the Croton Watershed Clean Water Coalition, and work very closely with people in Westchester and Putnam, and it's been a very rewarding experience to work in this way. What does a New York City Housing Group have to do with wetlands in Westchester? A great deal. For one thing, we pay water rates, which have increased over 200% in the last 10 years. In some cases, we pay more for water than for oil. And recently instituted metered water rates constitute a hyper-regressive tax. People with the lowest incomes pay 8% more of their income for water. The largest single item driving these costs to new heights is watershed protection and the specter of what would likely be a $1 billion Croton filtration plant. New York City is currently spending more than $2.2 billion to avoid a $6 to $8 billion filtration plant for the Catskill Delaware system. Tens of millions of that sum are going to upgrade 61 sewage treatment plants in the Croton. Concerned citizens throughout the Croton watershed are organizing to protect the water supply at the source. The CWCWC is currently working with the New York State Department of Transportation to remediate runoff from the roads throughout the watershed. But protection of wetlands, one of the most valuable and irreplaceable assets in the process of providing safe, affordable water, remains a major concern. A week ago, the New York Times ran an article about a sewage treatment plant in an Ulster County town. The town of Lloyd water and sewer administrator heard, as reported by Andrew Revkin, that, quote, simple beds of marsh grass can clean wastewater as effectively as costly assemblages of concrete tanks, steel pipes, and electricity-hungry oxygen pumps. In essence, the speaker was saying that, quote, everything I've been doing for 28 years is a stupid waste. Now, quoting again, Lloyd's man-made marsh sits next to a building housing the energy-guzzling press that is the standard way of squeezing water from sludge. The marsh is doing the same job for about half the cost. Artificial marshes may also keep 300 jobs in Lloyd. A company 4 miles from the sewage plant had a failed septic system. Building a sewer line was too costly, so the company was considering moving out. Now, though, the company is going to use an artificial marsh beyond its parking lot to treat its wastewater. Man-made wetlands can be chancy. Their success depends on the hydrology, the soil, and a host of other variables. But if wetlands are so useful, why not protect those that nature so generously provided in the Croton, especially since wetlands also absorb water during floods and help recharge the aquifer? Most of Westchester's water now comes from the Catskill Delaware watershed, which the Croton Watershed Clean Water Coalition is also working to protect. Those of us from New York City who have been working constructively with the people and the elected officials of Westchester to enhance the quality and affordability of our regional water supply, as well as the natural beauty which graces all our lives, look forward to many more years of that mutually beneficial cooperation which this resolution exemplifies. Thank you.
I have no other cards, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone else in the chamber who wishes to be heard or the citizens to be heard? Please identify yourself. If not, we'll close off this portion of the meeting. We thank our speakers. I think you'll all note that I erred on the side of a few additional minutes for those of you who want a little longer so that we could get your full comments in regardless of the topic. So thank you for coming this evening. We will begin our the regular portion of our meeting with the clerk calling the roll.
Legislators: Abenanti. Here. Noto. Here. Bronze. Here. Karski. Kaplowitz.
Present.
Lamont. Here. Mazzano. Here. Masiello. Here. Oros. Here. Pinto.
Here.
Ryan. Here. Spreckman. Here. Stewart Cousins. Here. Swanson. Here. Wishney. Here. Young. Mr. Chairman.
Here.
We have the minutes of June 21st, 1999, and July 12th special meeting.
Mr. Abenanti, Majority Leader.
Chairman, I move that the minutes be accepted as submitted.
Unless there's objection, so ordered. We have a series of public hearings at hand now. So, Mr. Abenanti, will you be moving to suspend
yes, Mr. Chairman, with respect to, I would move that we suspend the regular order of business to conduct the public hearings that have been noticed for this time period.
Okay. Will the clerk please outline the first of those hearings?
Okay. The first public hearing from the Committee on Budget Appropriations and the Committee on Community Affairs and Housing is Local Law Intro 9 of 1999, amending Section 131.11 of the laws of Westchester County to remove the powers of the Westchester County Commissioner of Public Works with respect to the Westchester Community College. The rules for the public hearing are as follows. Each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes. At the discretion of the chair, a speaker may be given the opportunity to appear a second time after everyone has had the opportunity to speak once. I have proof of publication, and I have no speakers.
Okay, this public hearing that's before us, we also have, as we do in the other items before us, the actual act later on in the meeting. This governs a change in the powers of the Department of Public Works, which would allow the Westchester Community College to have greater authority in its own public works projects on campus. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on this? Okay, hearing no comment, Mr. Abenanti.
Chairman, I move that the hearing be closed.
So ordered.
Public hearing B from the Committee on Budget Appropriations is Local Law Intro 10 of 1999 in relation to electing a retirement incentive program for eligible County of Westchester employees, except Westchester Community College employees pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 70 of the laws of 1999. I have no speakers.
Once again, this item and the item that follows are early retirement provisions made available to the county employees' workforce in two separate sections. This one is for all county employees. The following section is just for those who work at the community college. This is structured under state authority and availability. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on this public hearing? Hearing none,
Move that the hearing be closed.
so ordered.
Public hearing C from the Committee on Budget and Appropriations is Local Intro 11, approving a resolution by the Westchester Community College Board of Trustees dated June 30th, 1999, electing to provide the benefits of a retirement incentive program pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 70 of the laws of 1999 to all eligible employees of the college who are members of the New York State Teachers Retirement System, the New York State Teachers Retirement System, and optional TIAA-CREF retirement system. I have no cards.
Anyone wish to be heard on this topic?
I move that the hearing be closed.
So ordered.
Unfinished business A from the Committee on Budget Appropriations is Bond Act 114 of 1999, authorizing the issuance of $550,000 in bonds, Cell 4 of the Sprout Brook Ash Disposal Facility.
Mr. Wishney, Chairman of our Committee on Budget and Appropriations.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask that this item be recommitted. There are several open items yet to be solved, and at this time, we're going to recommit it.
Okay, it is recommitted by the chair of the committee. Yes, Mr. Oros.
Since this affects directly my district, I just want to extend my gratitude to the Budget Committee Chair for recommitting this. There are some matters that, due to the summer vacations, we weren't able to get a full briefing for the officials of the town of Portland before we move forward on this. I think it's the intention of the administration and the town board and myself to sit down before our next meeting so we can act appropriately then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Oros. We now come to our communications consent calendar, in which the articles that are going to be referred to a variety of committees have been reviewed by our majority leader, minority leader, and board vice chair. Mr. Abenanti.
Mr. Chairman, can we make a few corrections on the document that has been distributed to everyone?
Okay.
First of all, on page 2, item 9, there's a typographical error. We will be reappointing this person to the Youth Board, not to the Board of Legislators.
So noted.
Secondly, just a notation, on the same page, item 13 was referred to us by the county attorney, not by the county executive. That's a mistake that some people often make, but
Okay,
that
so
should be
noted.
corrected.
So noted.
On page 3, item 15, in addition to referring that to the Budget and Appropriations Committee, we'd also like to refer that to the Community Affairs and Housing Committee. On page 12, item Z, that item should be referred not only to the Environment Committee, but also to the Public Works Committee. And then on page 13, quadruple D, that should be referred not only to Community Affairs and Housing, but also to legislation. As everyone can see, we have a long list of items. There are 2 more that we have to deal with. Just so everybody notes that in addition to those some 100 items, we also have the notices and petitions under item 2 on the same page. And then on the blue sheet, special item calendar, there's 1 item which should be referred to Budget and Appropriations in Health and Medical Center.
Okay. All right, Mr. Abenanti, this is a motion on your behalf to adopt the consent calendar as you've recently amended it. Mrs. Bronze, our vice chair, have you had a chance to look at these referrals, and do you concur?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And Mr. Noto, minority leader, have you had a chance to review it and concur? Good. All right, I'll allow a minute or so for anybody to just take a second look at any of these different items. It is a long agenda, so if you have any changes, please raise your hand and we'll recognize you. For those who may be here in the room for the first time or anybody watching at home, all these items of communication are being referred to a legislative committee for greater discussion and ultimately some action. Some of the items being referred into committee are actual proposed laws or bond action. In some cases, they are letters or articles of communications to be read by members of the committee for general information's sake. And prior to this term, each of these items would have to be read individually and moved individually into each of these different committees. This is the longest agenda we've had during this term for communications, so I think we've conservatively saved about an hour tonight with this particular activity. All right, any changes? Anyone wish to make any other observations? First, Mrs. Swanson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. On 18 on page 3, I'd like to also put that in Community Affairs and Housing, as it has some community basis between 2 communities.
Okay, is there any objection to that going into Community Affairs and Housing as well as Budget?
No objection.
Okay, so ordered. Mr. Masiello?
Mr. Chairman, at the request of one of our legislators, item W on page 6 would like to also be sent to Environment as well as Community Affairs and Housing.
Item W, from which is currently in Community Affairs and Housing, would also go into Environment?
Yes.
No objection.
And any objection? No objection. Mrs. Spreckman, did you have a motion you wanted to? I thought I saw your hand raised.
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anybody else have any other changes to the consent calendar? If not, then let's have a short roll call vote to approve.
Mrs. Bronze?
Yes.
Mr. Abenanti?
Yes.
Mr. Noto? Yes. Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
That takes us to page 13, down at the bottom of the page, standing committees. A, from the Committee on Budget and Appropriations, is the Bond Act. authorizing the issuance of $360,000 in bonds, bridge replacement on the Bronx River Parkway north of Leewood Drive in Eastchester and Yonkers.
Mr. Wishney.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, we do have a number of items this evening from the Budget and Appropriations Committee. And just to expedite this, I'm going to try to do them as quickly as I can, but I do want everyone to understand that these have been discussed in great detail by all the members of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and in some cases other committees as well, constituting more than a majority of the Board of Legislators. This first item, Mr. Chairman, and the one right after it relate to construction on the Bronx River Parkway. The first item is north of Leewood Drive in Eastchester and Yonkers. It's the replacement of the bridge over the Bronx River Parkway. The old bonding that was put into place a few years ago was in the amount of $600,000. It was believed at the time that the bridge would be rehabbed. Since that time, it's been determined that the bridge should be replaced. We're asking for an additional $360,000 for a total of $960,000, and we so move.
Is there any discussion on this item? Mr. Pinto.
Just very quickly on both these items in Public Works, having discussed it with our Commissioner and John Shue, Commissioner Landy, these are two items that we're hoping to address, and we intend to have a full meeting with the community to alert them, especially the drivers using that highway or that parkway. There are two bridges, one to the north of Leewood, one to the south that the river traverses underneath the parkway in both locations. And it will be some time that it gets done and disruptive to traffic, but we will try to work it out for the community and the users.
Thank you, Mr. Pinto. Any other discussion on this project? Hearing none, we'll have a long roll call vote for approval.
Legislators Abenanti,
Yes.
Noto, Franz,
Yes.
Kaplowitz,
Aye.
Lamont, Maizeno,
Aye.
Masiello,
Yes.
Boros, Pinto,
Aye.
Ryan, Spreckman,
Yes.
Stewart Cousins, Swanson,
Yes.
Wishney,
Aye.
Young.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Item 1 is a bond act authorizing the issuance of $240,000 in bonds, bridge replacement on the Bronx River Parkway south of Leewood Drive in Eastchester and Yonkers.
Mr. Wishney.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, as Mr. Pinto described, this is the southern part of that project. Requires a full replacement of the bridge. In addition to the old $425,000 bond, we are now asking for an additional $240,000 for a total of $665,000, and we so move.
Thank you, Mr. Wishney. Seeing as this is very similar to the prior item, is there any other further discussion? Hearing none, then we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
On page 14 of the white sheet, item 2 is a bond act authorizing the issuance of $500,000 in bonds, planning for partial reconstruction of approximately 4.52 miles of roadway at Mamaroneck Avenue in the city of White Plains, town of Harrison, and village of Mamaroneck.
Mr. Wishney.
Mr. Chairman, as described by the clerk, this $500,000 bond is to improve Mamaroneck Avenue in the city of White Plains, the town of Harrison, and the village of Mamaroneck. It's a Type 2 action. It's a 5-year bond. We recommend its approval. So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wishney. For those of you who may not be familiar with the geography, Mr. Noto and I are familiar with this geography. This is the same road that winds in and out of my district and his district in 3 separate entries and exits for this 4.5 miles as it goes to these different communities, and a long overdue project. Any comments? Hearing none, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 3 is a bond act authorizing the issuance of $600,000 in bonds, planning for partial reconstruction of approximately 6.14 miles of roadway at Westchester Avenue, east and west, between White Plains Avenue and Purchase Street.
Mr. Wishney.
Mr. Chairman, we would move the $600,000 bond required to improve Westchester Avenue as described by the clerk.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 4 is a bond act authorizing the issuance of $200,000 in bonds, planning for partial reconstruction of Tuckahoe Road, approximately 0.47 miles in the city of Yonkers.
Mr. Wishney.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, again, we recommend a $200,000 bond for the partial reconstruction of Tuckahoe Road as described. So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 5 is a bond act authorizing the issuance of $2,200,000 in bonds, partial reconstruction of the McCallion office building to upgrade floors within the building.
Mr. Wishney.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, this is part of the ongoing phase modernization of this office building. In this particular case, we're looking at a $2,200,000 bond to finance the cost of the partial reconstruction, including the 7th and 2nd floors, the 3rd and 2nd floor computer rooms, and we so move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the topic? Seeing none, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 6 is a bond act authorizing the issuance of $1,900,000 in bonds, replacement and/or modification of air conditioning systems at various locations, including the Penitentiary Kitchen, Penitentiary E Block, Jail, Mount Kisco District Office Building, and Mount Vernon District Office Building.
Mr. Wishney?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, as we have been doing for a couple of years now, we are required under the Clean Air Act to rid the county of those air conditioning systems that do not meet the present standards that are required. In this case, this is a $1,900,000 bond to do the work as described. This would be substituting previously submitted bonding legislation to replace the Penn kitchen units for $900,000. We move the bond of $1,900,000.
Thank you, Mr. Wishney. Any discussion on the topic? Seeing none, we'll take the prior long roll call vote. I'm sorry, Mr. Kaplowitz, forgive me.
Chairman, thank you. Yes, as Mr. Wishney noted, I do want to thank the administration. The original proposal was for 6 penitentiary units at a cost of $900,000. They wisely went back and looked and realized that they could do with 1, saving the taxpayers $700,000 in cost, and I think a wise move all around for taxpayers and for ourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplowitz. Any other discussion on the topic? We'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 7 from the Committee on Budget and Appropriations and the Committee on Community Affairs and Housing is an act authorizing the county to enter into IMAs with the City of New York to accept a federal grant from the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS program for the fiscal year 1999.
This is chaired by Mr. Wishney and also Mr. Oros, who chairs our Committee on Community Affairs and Housing. Mr. Wishney.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Oros and I met in joint session with our colleagues to discuss this IMA with the City of New York in the amount of $1,579,735. This will permit us to provide for the City of Mount Vernon, the City of New Rochelle, and the City of Yonkers those dollars that are described, and as well as the County of Westchester, which will use the balance of the money, $649,000, to assist 60 families through its rental assistance program for persons with AIDS. This is an ongoing program. We've been participating for a number of years. We so move.
Thank you, Mr. Wishney. Mr. Oros, anything you'd like to add on behalf of your committee?
No, Mr. Chairman, I think the chairman of the Budget Committee covered it. We did meet in joint session and acted in unanimous fashion.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any discussion on the topic? Seeing none, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
On page 15 of the white sheet, item 8 from the Committee on Budget and Appropriations is an act authorizing the county attorney to compromise the county's right to be reimbursed for health care benefits expended on behalf of the listed insurers' recovery from legal action or settlement.
Mr. Wishney?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, from time to time, the County of Westchester tries to recover some of those dollars that are expended for our employees under the health benefit plan for those incidents that result in litigation where our employees recover some sums of money based on litigation. In this case, we will be recovering a portion of those dollars we've expended through negotiations by the county attorney and his staff. The numbers are listed with the various cases. It's an act authorizing the compromise to recover these funds, and we so move.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the topic? Seeing none, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
9 is an act authorizing the county to enter into agreements with one or more financing agencies or credit card issuers to provide for the acceptance by the county of credit cards as a means of payment of fines, civil penalties, rent, rates, taxes, fees, charges, revenue, financial obligations, or other amounts, including penalties, special assessments, and interest owed to the county of Westchester.
I hope this is a good idea, Mr. Wishney.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this act will authorize the county to, in fact, permit the use of credit cards, apparently for a number of years, at some of our parks. Our employees have accepted credit cards. We had received a request from the county clerk to utilize this credit card system in some of the work that he does. After discussion with our Budget and Appropriations Committee, we agreed that we would authorize the continuation of the use of credit cards within our parks program. However, we would
put in a consideration that the county clerk or any other department would have to provide the Commissioner of Finance as well as the Budget and Appropriations Committee with proof that, in fact, we would recover any fees that would be charged by the credit card company to the County of Westchester. For instance, if there's a fee for a particular service, if it was $50, we would expect to get the full $50, not $50 less a fee to the credit card company. So we move the approval with that proviso.
Thank you, Mr. Wishney. Any discussion on the topic? Seeing none, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 10 is resolution designating the Westchester Convention and Visitors Bureau Limited as the tourist promotion agency for Westchester County.
Mr. Wishney?
Yes, if bear with me, please. Okay. In this case, Mr. Latimer and colleagues, what we're trying to do is to permit Westchester County to receive a federal grant. And by authorizing the Westchester Convention and Visitors Bureau, we would then be permitting that agency to accept these particular funds. And this is a standard procedure, and we so move.
Thank you. Now, this is going to require a short roll call vote. Any discussion prior to approval? Clerk, please call the short roll call.
Mr. Wishney?
Aye.
Mr. Avenatti?
Yes.
Mr. Noto?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Aye.
Item 11 from the Committee on Budget Appropriations and the Committee on Health and the Medical Center is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Health Care Corporation for a term from January 1, 1999 through December 31, 2000, whereby the county will furnish graphic copying and print services and mail delivery to WCHCC.
Mr. Wishney and also Mr. Avenatti, who chairs our Health Committee, this is the first of what looks like about 16 separate agreements between the county and the medical center. It may be wise to describe once in general what we're at hand, and then unless there's objections on a particular item, we'll deal with each of them rather rapidly.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, Mr. Abenanti and his Health Committee met in joint session with the Budget and Appropriations Committee. There are some 17 items. What these are is a requirement to enter into an act to cover each of the agreements that we have now with our former Westchester Medical Center, now as the Westchester Healthcare Corporation. What these agreements do is provide for terms and conditions for various activities that take place between the county and the Healthcare Corporation. They are described in detail. We've discussed them in detail. We move all of them, Mr. Chairman, and if the clerk would call each of them, we'd be happy to approve them as read.
Okay. To follow the legal procedure, the clerk will vote first on item 11, and then the clerk will read item 12, and we'll take prior roll call votes. What I'd like to do off the bat is just ask, does any of our colleagues have a problem with any particular one of these that they would like to have some detailed discussion or debate on? In which case, we will stop and make sure we have that discussion. Seeing none of those, then we'll take a long roll call vote on item 11 to begin the process.
Legislators Avenatti?
Yes.
Noto? Bronze? Yes. Capelitz?
Aye.
Lamont? Maizano?
Yes.
Masiello? Oros? Pinto?
Aye.
Ryan? Spreckman?
Yes.
Stewart Cousins?
Yes.
Swanson?
Yes.
Wishney?
Aye.
Young?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Aye.
Item 12 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Health Care Corporation for a term from January 1, 1999 through December 31, 1999, whereby WCHCC will provide laundry services and employee physical examinations for the Westchester Community College in an amount not to exceed $9,000.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
On page 16 of the white sheet, item 13 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with Westchester County Health Care Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1999 through December 31, 1999, whereby the county will provide record, storage, and retrieval services at WCHCC.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 14 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with Westchester County Health Care Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1999 through December 31, 2002, whereby WCHCC will provide psychological examination to probation officer trainees.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 15 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Health Care Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1999 through December 31, 1999, whereby the county will provide road and ground maintenance to WCHCC.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 16 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1999 through December 31st, 1999, whereby the county will provide certain employee assistance program services and receive a license of space at 19 Bradhurst Avenue for an office for the employee assistance program staff.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 17 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1999 through December 31st, 2001, whereby WCHCC shall provide medical physical examinations for employees of the Department of Public Safety and psychological evaluations of applicants for park officer and police officer and park ranger positions.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 18 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1998 through December 31st, 2000, whereby the county shall provide data system services and desktop hardware maintenance necessary to provide payroll and accounting systems processing services.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 19 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1999 through December 31st, 2003, whereby the county will place safety net and family assistance recipients in community work experience assignments.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 20 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1999 through December 31st, 2001, whereby the county, through its Department of Social Services, shall assign for employment on the premises of WCHCC county employees whose sole duty shall be to accept and process applications for Medicaid for persons seeking medical assistance from the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 21 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1999 through December 31st, 2001, whereby WCHCC shall provide to the county therapeutic and counseling services for children in foster care. In addition, WCHCC shall provide parenting training to foster child's birth parents or guardians.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 22 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1999 through December 31st, 2001, whereby WCHCC shall provide inpatient medical services for residents of Woodfield Cottage, the county's secure detention facility.
Without objection, the prior long roll call vote for approval will stand.
Item 23 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1999 and terminating December 31st, 2001, whereby WCHCC shall provide health assessments, including medical, physical examinations, testings, and screenings as required by the Office of the District Attorney.
Without objection, prior long roll call vote for approval.
24 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1999 through December 31st, 2000, whereby the county will furnish automotive services to WCHCC.
Without objection, prior long roll call vote will stand for approval.
25 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term from January 1, 1999 through December 31st, 2000, whereby the county will furnish Bureau of Purchase and Supply Services to WCHCC.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
26 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term commencing January 1st, 1999 through December 31st, 1999, whereby WCHCC will provide certain mental health services.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 27 is an act authorizing the county to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term commencing January 1, 1999 through December 31st, 2000, whereby the county will provide shuttle bus services to WCHCC.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval. And I want to thank, before we continue, Mr. Wishney in the Budget Committee, Mr. Abenanti in the Health Committee. Again, this may look like a very perfunctory rubber stamping of these contracts, but they were indeed discussed in detail in both of these two committees, and a large number of members have had a chance to have some input on it. So what you're seeing now really is the final act of something that has been discussed leading up to this point.
Item 28 from the Committee on Budget and Appropriations is Local Law Intro 10 of 1999 in relation to electing a retirement incentive program for eligible Westchester County employees, except Westchester Community College employees pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 70 of the laws of 1999.
Mr. Wishney.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, Mr. Chairman, as you described earlier when we had the public hearings this evening, there are two items that one follows the other. They're related to an early retirement incentive program approved by the state of New York, permitting counties and local governments to participate. In this case, the first item before us, number 28, is an early incentive retirement program for county employees, excluding the Westchester Community College employees. The program is to begin on September 3rd, 1999. The open period during which eligible employees can retire and be entitled to these special benefits is for a period of 50 days ending on October 22nd, 1999. As before, in other plans that we've participated in, this provides the county with an opportunity to certainly reward long-term employees, but also it's a major way for the county to save money, and the county is required to provide for the state a savings plan, which has in fact been prepared and will be submitted after the final numbers are recognized by, depending on how many employees actually retire. The county is not required to do away with the various lines as long as the county can demonstrate the savings. In the second one, Mr. Chairman, number 29, which is also a retirement incentive program, this involves Westchester Community College personnel. We've been requested by the president of the college and the trustees of the college to authorize a similar program which begins on July 28th, 1999. It's a 35-day period ending on August 31st, 1999. In discussions with President Hankin, he indicated that in a former program, the 1998 cost for participating was $313,000. It resulted in a 2-year savings of $564,000. So as you can see, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, this is certainly a program that has a positive impact on our long-term employees with a savings for the County of Westchester. We so move both of these acts.
Thank you, Mr. Wishney. We'll accept any comment on either of the two acts before us relating to both the regular county employees and the community college employees.
Chairman, I should be corrected, local law, not acts.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Any comment on either of the two issues? Okay, hearing none, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval of item 28.
Okay, item 29 is local law intro 11 of 1999, approving a resolution by the Westchester Community College Board of Trustees dated June 30th, 1999, electing to provide the benefits of a retirement incentive program pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 70 of the laws of 1999 to eligible members of the New York State Employees Retirement System, the New York State Teachers Retirement System, and the optional TIAA-CREF Retirement System.
Without objection, if there's no further discussion, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
That takes us to the blue sheet. Standing committees, A, from the Committee on Budget Appropriations, an act approving certain financial conditions of employment requiring legislative approval by law and a collective bargaining agreement for those employees of Westchester County represented by Local 456, International Brotherhood of Teamsters, for a 6-year period commencing January 1, 1996, and ending December 31st, 2001.
Mr. Wishney?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, this Teamster contract that is being presented to us tonight for consideration is a 6-year agreement, begins in January of 96 and ends in December of 2001. The various increases are for the first year 1.5%, the second year 1%, the third year 3.5%, the fourth year 3.5%, the fifth year 3.5%, and the sixth year 3.5% in terms of salaries. There is a retroactive clause indicating that employees must be in the unit as of June 11th, 1999, in order to participate in this in these raises. They could have been retired, laid off, deceased, and meet the various requirements that have been agreed to, again, as of June 11th, 1999, in order to take advantage of these raises and this contract. There's also a longevity clause. It's $150 at January 1st, 1998, again, January 1st, 1999, and also for the following 2 years. There's sick time, which increases from 120 days to 125 days. There's an optical benefit on an annual basis beginning January 1999, and a dental plan equal to the CSEA benefit. There's an elimination of titles that has been agreed to both by the union and the county administration. It eliminates titles known as the Senior Assistant County Attorney, the Assistant to the County Executives 1 and 2, the Coordinator of Veterans Affairs have now been excluded if this contract is approved by our Board of Legislators. Mr. Chairman, we've examined this very carefully. We've had good discussion with all of our colleagues. I think they asked excellent questions of the administration. Looking at this on a financial basis over a 6-year period, the annualized cost is 2.74%, which, as my distinguished colleague, Mr. Kaplowitz, who's our financial genius on the Budget and Appropriations Committee, has indicated to us, this falls right in line with all of the other contracts and certainly well below the cost of living. So we recommend its approval.
Thank you, Mr. Wishney. Any discussion on the contract? Mr. Kaplowitz?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, without introduction, I probably shouldn't be speaking. However, I was proud today in budget to have seconded the motion to bring this contract to us this evening. Our Teamsters employees, in fact, all our unionized and non-unionized employees are our partners in the service of county government to our constituents, and in many cases, the professionalism that they bring and the diligence they bring needs to be rewarded, and unfortunately sometimes is not. This is an opportunity to rectify 3.5 years' worth of not having a contract. It is a matter of fairness to them. It is a fair arrangement that is the chairman of the Budget Committee indicated is commensurate with the other unions and their settlements, and it's also fair and reasonable to our ultimate constituents, to the taxpayers, those of us in the room and all of us at home, and all around. It is a good deal for those of us and allow us to move on to the next chapter in our continuing fine relationship with our county employees.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplowitz. Any other comments? Mrs. Swanson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no problems with this contract. I just would like to have the backup information. I think Mr. Shankman was supposed to get me a list of the positions, which I haven't received yet. I will be supporting this, but I would appreciate the backup information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Swanson. I'm sure Mr. Boland will retrieve that. We'll get that information. Okay. Any other comments relative to the contract before us? All right, let's take a long roll call vote.
Legislators Abenanti.
Yes.
Noto.
Yes.
Franz. Yes. Kaplowitz.
Aye.
Lamont. Maizano.
Yes.
Masiello. Oros. Pinto.
Aye.
Ryan.
Yes.
Spreckman.
Yes.
Stewart Cousins.
Yes.
Swanson.
Yes.
Wishney.
Aye.
Young.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Item 1 is an act authorizing the county to settle its claims against West Hab, Inc., relating to West Hab's operating of the shelter program and emergency housing apartment program, and to waive any rights the county has to interest in connection with an arbitrator's decision dated November 3rd, 1997.
Mr. Wishney?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, as described by the clerk, this is an act that will settle an arbitrator's award discussed with West Hab and a long-term relationship that we've had with this agency for a number of years. The savings that will be returned to the county is $24,262 for the shelter program. There'll be, in the emergency housing program, there's $1,004,311, and in the last phase of this recovery, where West Hab, under their 802 account, provided 36 individual loans aggregating $434,000 to owners of various buildings. Some of those loans, unfortunately, have not been repaid, and West Hab has agreed to pay the county the uncollectible amount of $26,574. Again, Mr. Chairman, this is a complex discussion that's taken place over many months by the county attorney and the administration, along with West Hab. The Budget and Appropriations Committee has examined it in detail, and we recommend that we settle this matter once and for all under the terms and conditions recommended.
Thank you, Mr. Wishney. Any discussion on the topic? Seeing none, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval On this particular vote, Mr. Oros, do you wish to be recorded in the affirmative? Yes. Okay. So let the record show that it's a 16-0 vote on the West Hab settlement.
Item 2 from the Committee on Budget and Appropriations and the Committee on Public Works is is local law intro, I think this should read Committee on Community Affairs, is local law intro 9 of 1999, amending section 131.11 of the laws of Westchester County to remove the powers of Westchester County Commissioner of Public Works with respect to the Westchester Community College.
The next three items are all interrelated, and we've had public hearing on it earlier. Mr. Wishney, if you can address all three, and then we'll proceed from there.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there have been discussions with the Westchester Community College, both the president of the college, the board of trustees, various representatives of the college for many years have been concerned about the independence of the college and the ability to be more competitive in the marketplace. They have suggested several ways for the county of Westchester to offer that independence to the college. This is the first of what is expected to be several recommendations by the county executive to the Board of Legislators in order to provide that independence to the college. In this particular case, we would be permitting, through this action tonight, the ability to exempt from control of all buildings and operations by our Commissioner of Public Works. The amendment of our charter is required because there's a change in power which would eliminate from the power of an appointed official by an elected representative. And since there's a diminishment of that power, there's required to be a mandatory referendum. In order to meet our obligations, there's an August 3rd deadline, which this board must meet if they agree that, in fact, we would like to take this opportunity to provide the beginning of what we hope will be other steps to provide Westchester Community College with their independence and the flexibility to be more competitive. The three pieces of material here accomplish that task, present the various ads in the newspaper, it forwards the legislation on to the Board of Elections, and meets these obligations, and we recommend its approval. We did meet jointly with Mr. Oros and the Community Affairs and Housing Committee. We had good discussion, and I believe it's unanimous that we approve this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wishney. Mr. Oros, any comment on behalf of your committee?
No, I think just that we did discuss this. We did have a joint meeting. It's something that's been in the works for some time. There was some modifications to the committee's report. We are taking only one step here in what's an overall scheme, I guess, or plan that will eventually evolve to give more independence to the community college. And therefore, we modified our committee report to reflect the fact that this is just one action we're taking, which would be to put this out to referendum to the public in November in order that the college could take this particular step and do it in-house rather than relying consistently on the county.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Oros. Comments? Mrs. Spreckman.
I am in favor of this, but as we're putting it out to the people for referendum, I just want everybody to know that all of the Yonkers County legislators and many of the others have met with us over a period of 15 months. It was in April of last year that we started. And what we want is a satellite college. We want Westchester Community College to come into Yonkers, the fourth largest city. We are a quarter of the size of the county, and we have 295,000 people. I have gone to all the senior citizens with asking them would they go to the college if we had it, because it's incumbent upon them, because most of the people that go have to work, they can't afford to go to college, and they want to better themselves. So I think we are an ideal location in the southern part of the tier, and all I want to do is get this done, expedited, make sure that everything is in place, and I'm looking forward to having that satellite in Yonkers. On behalf of everybody, I want to thank Westchester County College, and I want to thank everybody else for helping me, including you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Spreckman. Other comments about the item before us? Mr. Maisano.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. One of the great things about being a legislator is that sometimes timing works out perfectly. We can get something off your chest when it just happens to affect a piece of legislation before the Board of Legislators. Well, prior to saying anything, I went to Westchester Community College. I'm one of the few county legislators that actually went to the college. And until about 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have had any problem voting for this measure. I certainly think that the college is one of the finest in the nation. We're very proud of it as county legislators, as a county, and we want to see it excel. And we've discussed with the college how they could excel, and that was giving them more independence. And I certainly wouldn't want to do anything to hurt the college from excelling. Until 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have any problem with that. However, I began to rethink independence for the college 2 weeks ago, when I believe a very serious incident occurred at Westchester Community College, a very serious incident. Everybody here knows what I'm referring to. Still angry about it, still angry about what happened, and that was the so-called potential Senate candidate Hillary Clinton appearing at Westchester Community College on her so-called listening tour. And I was very disappointed with how Westchester Community College handled that event. I believe what happened that day was an open and blatant misuse of taxpayers' money and a taxpayer-funded facility. Use of government employees that shouldn't have been working at that event, that went on, and the use of government facilities for a political event, a clear political event. Nobody please stand up and say it was a visit by the First Lady. We all don't know that's not true. As a matter of fact, her campaign is now paying for it, so nobody please stand up and say that. That was a visit of a potential Senate candidate. That's why it was a listening tour. Also, I think it was a violation of intellectual freedom. One of the things that we treasure in any university is intellectual freedom, an open, robust exchange of ideas. I certainly remember that from my days in law school, and as I was sitting here writing my comments, I thought back to when I went to SUNY Buffalo Law School, when public officials appeared at SUNY Buffalo. I remember when Tip O'Neill came, a Democrat, by the way, a great Democrat, one of my favorite all-time politicians, and he came to speak at SUNY Buffalo. Where did they put him? In the gymnasium, with every student and every person in the Buffalo area able to go and ask questions to Tip O'Neill. And I will tell you, he was fantastic. The way he was able to stand up on that podium and field open questions from the crowd, not like the so-called listening tour where people were hand-picked to walk in there and ask the right questions so it looked really good on television and for media clips. A hand-picked crowd. That's not what a university does. University does not hand-pick its crowd. As a matter of fact, no Republican legislator was invited, not one. Not even Sue Swanson, who, by the way, one of the most bipartisan legislators on this board historically, since she came on the board. It's in her district. WCC is in her district. She didn't even get invited. That's outrageous. Why did this happen? Why are we allowing blatant political events, misuse of taxpayers' funds, misuse of taxpayer-funded facilities? I think it's an outrage, and I'm very troubled to it to this very minute. And this is not an open exchange of ideas. If Westchester Community College wants to hold events for Hillary Clinton or Rudy Giuliani or anybody else, let them come and open the doors wide open. That's why we have events and invite public figures. Make them stand in the well and answer questions from regular, everyday citizens who can walk in off the street and ask questions. That's how a college holds a public dialogue with public officials, not hand-picked staged political events. That's an outrage. And I'm very troubled that the county administration on the 9th floor and the Westchester Community College allowed that to happen. So I find it interesting that they're asking for more independence tonight, and they're asking for less government control at the same time, 2 weeks ago, where the Westchester Community College was involved in what I believe was a very irresponsible act. I think the point what I'm trying to get at is that Westchester Community College got involved in a partisan political activity, and that's just plain wrong. Now, hopefully none of my friends on the other side will leap up and say Maisano was making a political speech. I pledge to you that if this was reversed, and it was a Republican county executive bringing a Republican Senate candidate to Westchester Community College, I would be just as outraged, and I pledge to you I'd stand up here and make the same exact speech. Because what's wrong is wrong. It's not about politics. It's about what's right for a public college, paid for by the taxpayers. The 9th floor doesn't own Westchester Community College, and neither does the Westchester Community College administration. They don't own Westchester Community College. The taxpayers do. The people of Westchester own that facility, and they should not be banned from going to listen and ask questions to a potential United States Senate candidate. So what I'm saying to Westchester Community College, I can't possibly vote no on this piece of legislation, as angry as I am, because we have to do what's best for the college, for the students, and for the county. So I will vote yes tonight. But with independence comes responsibility. And I hope that Westchester Community College in the future will act much more responsible than they did 2 weeks ago. I think that the administration and Westchester Community College owe the county taxpayers a huge apology for politicizing Westchester Community College, an institution many of us have great respect for and are very honored to have in our county. But as I said, I will put aside my anger tonight and vote yes because it's what's best for the county. But I hope the leadership of Westchester Community College, both administration and the trustees, hear this. And if they want more independence, they want less government control in the future, Westchester Community College should act responsibly. And they didn't do that 2 weeks ago, and it was just plain wrong.
Mr. Abenanti.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, I'd like to address the legislation that's before us this evening, which, as I understand it, would give some of the administrators some additional authority to deal with contracts in building, repairing buildings at the community college. It has nothing to do with the policies of the college and who they host and whatever. So it was a nice segue by Mr. Maizano, as he said. It gave him an opportunity to get something off of his chest, but it really had absolutely nothing to do with the legislation that's before us. What we're dealing with here is a mundane matter, and I don't want any of the people in the audience or anyone at home to think that when they go vote for this referendum in November, they're somehow approving the use of the community college for political purposes, which is what it sounded like. This is a very straightforward piece of legislation that has bipartisan support, at least did, and I gather still does, which basically just rearranges the relationship between the college and the county and who is going to make determinations as to what types of contracts are going to meet which requirements, et cetera. It's purely a ministerial thing, and it's only before us because the county charter says that we have to deal with such ministerial type things. Secondly, I can't pass up the opportunity to somewhat respond to my colleague. I believe it was a political speech by Mr. Maizano, and I will stand up and say that. The college, as I understand it, has a very long history of acting as a host for a wide variety of people in various types of forums. And I understand that some very prominent Republicans, as well as Democrats, have appeared at the college in all types of forums. And not all of the forums have been open to everyone. We must recognize here, first of all, that we are dealing with the First Lady, and she does have Secret Service requirements. Some of us were invited to meet her prior to the event at the college and had to be screened by the Secret Service in advance before we were able to enter a different forum to meet with her. So I understand the requirements of the Secret Service and their requirements that she be in a limited access situation. But let's get back to the college for a second. Not every forum that the college has to be open to the entire public. It is a community college. It is a place where the community can gather. And I commend the college for allowing its grounds to be used for those different types of purposes. Not every class is open to everyone. Not every forum is open to everyone. I think what they did here was allow it to be open to Westchester residents. And that's who was there. And it wasn't a blanket invitation to everyone. It was to a small group of people, yes, but they were Westchester residents. For us to try to dictate the types of forums that the college has would be a violation of academic freedom. It would be government telling an academic institution what it could do and what it can't do. And if Mr. Maizano can point to certain circumstances where other speakers have been denied a similar type of forum and a similar type of access, then I think he has a valid point. But it's certainly not valid for us to criticize the college because they held a different type of forum which doesn't meet Mr. Maizano's standard. Lastly, let me just conclude by noting that I have been assured that no taxpayer money was used in this function.
Mrs. Spreckman.
I don't care what kind of program Westchester Community College has, but I, as an elected official, a resident of Westchester County, think that we all should have been invited. I would be very interested to hear what the First Lady has to say. And being it's the First Lady, we should have been invited. And I have to say that regardless of what he says.
Mr. Wishney and then Mrs. Swanson.
Mr. Chairman and colleagues, I really don't want to get into this discussion, but I wanted Mrs. Spreckman to know that I did have a chance to meet the First Lady. She was lobbying for an extension of the college in Yonkers. One of the things I think all of us agree, all 17 of us agree about, is that the college is a very special place. Mr. Maizano, in fact, indicated it, that it is one of the finest in the nation. Let us not, in this place or any other place, take advantage of any political event or any political motivation. And I give credit to Mr. Maizano. I have a great deal of respect for him. I know he's speaking honestly. He feels that this was a political event that the college shouldn't have been involved in. Obviously, he feels strongly about that, and I respect his opinion. But I also want to indicate to all of you that when this occurred, I spoke with the college president, who was away at the time. I spoke with representatives of the college. I asked about this concern. They indicated to me that SUNY, the State University of New York, which our college is a member of, has a policy encouraging speakers from all political persuasions. As Mr. Abernathy's indicated, there are all kinds of forums. Please, don't take this personally. Let's not let the Senate race that's about to take place next year in any way diminish our shining star, the Westchester Community College. And I'm sure, Mr. Maizano, if you have a discussion with the president of the college or any of our colleagues do, I'm sure you'll get a record of whereby people from both sides, both Republicans, conservatives, Democrats, and others, have had the opportunity in the past. And certainly, I would encourage and I will salute the college if they invite Mayor Giuliani or any Republican to the college. It's to our advantage. It brings great publicity. The First Lady of the United States of America came to Westchester Community College. There were many other places they could have held that forum. So let's not take a positive and make it a negative.
All right. Mrs. Swanson and then Mr. Kaplowitz.
First of all, I'm probably the least political here. And was Mr. Abernathy saying I couldn't pass the test to get in? Is that it, the screening test? All kidding aside, I guess also the First Lady was putting soccer on nights with lights at the community college, is probably advocating that. I will be supporting this. However, I would like to say to the trustees that are here and the other college people that are here that I would like to continue a good neighbor situation there at the college and try and talk out the soccer problem that we do have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Swanson. Before we go to Mr. Kaplowitz, I just want to apologize to Mr. Pinto because the very morning of this event, he bought me breakfast at a diner in New Rochelle. I guess we missed all the fun here, Vito, so I owe you one. I apologize. Mr. Kaplowitz.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that morning I was talking about sewage diversion, so I'm wondering who had the more interesting morning as well. To the referendum itself, one of the compelling factors that I think many of us on the Budget Committee heard was an example that the administration gave that, in fact, a particular contract, they would have been able to save the taxpayers, us, over $1 million if they had been able to contract out a particular capital project on their own. And those are real dollars that will go a long way towards providing assistance to the college for additional programs. And one of the reasons that ultimately the taxpayers will decide, our citizens will decide whether this goes forward, and they can choose in November to vote for it. And hopefully, as they find out examples like this of why it makes sense, we'll see the rationale for doing so.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplowitz. Mr. Pinto.
I appreciate all the comments of everybody. With regard to that, I did stand up and say I believed all legislators should be invited, and we all make our own decision whether we attend, regardless of our political affiliation. However, as chairman of Public Works, I'd like to get back to the issue of Public Works, and should we or should we not be doing structures, facilities, repair, street paving at the county. It's been a long-standing discussion about the charge that Public Works does render to the community college, whether that charge is double dip, double charge because of the people being on the payroll. So I'm happy to see an innovative policy presented to us for discussion and hopeful affirmative vote this evening that will go out for a referendum with the public, and that would offer an opportunity for education to be presented to the public as to whether this will be a cost-saving factor, giving the college more flexibility. If that happens, we certainly stand ready to stay back. As far as Public Works, the Commissioner Landy and members of the department and I have spoken about this. If it does get defeated, we will still render the service, quality service that we believe the Public Works Department has rendered to the college, and we will certainly always try to give the proper charge where possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pinto. Any other comments on the issue before us? Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just very quickly, the morning of the First Lady's visit over at the community college, I was attending to other matters that had to do with the work that I do for the state of New York. One of the things that I was curious about, however, related to our visit, was that whole issue of county costs that might be associated with that. And I think that many of us have pursued that. We've been told that some of the concerns that came to the surface very quickly, I guess, just prior to or on that very day, we really didn't have to be all that concerned about, because the expenses that some thought were coming at the cost, rather, were coming at the expense of county taxpayers didn't actually occur. So let me, as Mr. Pinto has done before me, let me return to the actual matter that is in front of us, which we should be focusing on. And let me quickly say that I've had an opportunity over the past 18 months to talk to Joe Hankin at the community college. I've talked to many of the individuals who are members of the administration over there. We've talked at length about the advantages of operational and administrative flexibility. I'm anxious to see what else comes down from the county executive that will allow us to continue in this vein. And with respect to tonight's item, I am very anxious to support this, because I really believe that it's a step that will allow us to achieve greater cost savings and reductions that will benefit Westchester County taxpayers.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Any other comment on the issue? Mr. Mazzano.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to follow up. I'm certainly glad I got a nice, robust debate here in the gallery today. I think our legislature needs that from time to time. Just like to make a couple of points to my good friend Bill Ryan. It wasn't until Legislator Noto and the members of the Republican caucus began to make an issue at his appearance that all of a sudden the Hillary campaign committee started paying her bills. That's when that happened, when Legislator Noto made it an issue. So let's go a little slow on that. Second of all, I certainly would like to say for the record to my friend Mr. Wishney, I'm glad Hillary Clinton came to Westchester Community College, and I'm glad she came to Westchester. And I think hopefully all political candidates will come to Westchester. My problem was that event was closed to the public. And to Mr. Abenanti's statement that social service concerns, give me a break. If for some reason the Democratic members are able to pass this Secret Service test, but we all can't pass that same test, that's ridiculous. The President and the First Lady give countless speeches around the country that are open to the public every year. We all know that this was closed to the public, and that was wrong. And I respectfully submit that at a taxpayer-funded college, all events such as this, a major political figure appearing at our wonderful Westchester Community College should always be open to the public.
Okay, I'm going to take the prerogative of the chair to make the last comment on this issue. And the issue, as I see it, relates back to that which we're trying to accomplish in creating some greater autonomy for the community college. It's been over a long period of time that members of the Board of Trustees for the college, individuals who are active in the foundation for the college, have talked to us as individual legislators at the annual receptions and the various times when we meet to talk about how much they'd like to see Westchester Community College go in the direction of other community colleges around the state. That's the one thing we miss in these discussions of autonomy, is that the precedent for such autonomy is out there already in a host of other community colleges around New York State. And I would just say to those who are in the chambers tonight and those who may be watching this on television that for many years you received only lip service from county government as to whether or not we would actually move in this direction. This is only a very small first step tonight, but this is not only a first step that's small, but it is a statement of sincerity that I think a number of us on both sides of the aisle have expressed, believing, as we have in other circumstances, that devolving authority down to the operational level can be a positive thing to do. We believe that this community college can function more successfully with some additional autonomy, and the additional elements of that autonomy will be discussed in this chamber, and we will deal with each of those prerogatives one at a time. But I think this is a good first step, and I think it is a matter of keeping faith. And hopefully, as those of you who are involved in this issue leave tonight, you'll recognize this is a step of faith that we're taking with you as partners. With that, let us have a long roll call vote for the first of the items, item SI 3A2.
Legislators Abenante,
Yes.
Noto, Kaplowitz,
Aye.
Lamont, Maizano,
Yes.
Masiello, Oros,
Yes.
Pinto,
Aye.
Ryan, Spreckman, Stewart Cousins, Swanson, Wishney,
Aye.
Young.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
On page 2 of the blue sheet, SI 3A3 is a resolution providing for the submission of a proposition at the general election to be held November 2nd, 1999, for local law intro 9 of 1999.
Without objection, I'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval.
Item 4 is a resolution providing for the publication of County Local Law Intro 9 of 1999 and notice of submission of a proposition thereon at the general election to be held November 2nd, 1999.
Without objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for approval. I'd like to have a recess in place just so that we can change tapes, and then we'll continue with the rest of our agenda. It'll be about 1 minute.